We have a special treatment.
In spite of how far we have come, we have so far yet to travel. In the days ahead, we're going to be challenged to make judgments, to have greater wisdom, to be possessed with more vision. Although we have the greatest nation in all the world, if it is to continue to lead the world, then we must rise up in this critical hour of need, inventory our resources, list our needs, and try to reach progressive judgments that will result in the greatest good for the greatest number.
In midsummer of 1968, after more than 4.5 years as chief executive, President Johnson began his final 6 months in office.
Your Excellencies, the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons is now ready to be signed.
On the morning of July 1st, in parallel ceremonies in Washington, London, and Moscow, representatives of 57 nations affixed their signatures to one of the most significant and meaningful documents of the 20th century, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
This treaty is not the work of any one country, but is in fact the product of all nations which shared our concerns over the danger of nuclear proliferation. Agreement has not been easy, where basic security, the technological and economic interests of so many nations are deeply involved. Yet our collective and persistent determination has today been crowned with success.
Today we are here to add another stone to the edifice which one day we all pray will ensure lasting peace to mankind through complete and general disarmament. This non-proliferation treaty is yet another measure, like the Test Ban Treaty and the agreements on outer space for the control of the weapons of mass destruction, that it is now within the power of men to make news.
The very fact that the treaty has been commended by the overwhelming majority of United Nations members and is going to be signed by a great number of states is a convincing proof of their capability to find mutually acceptable solutions of most vital and most complicated international problems.
Now, at this moment of achievement and great hope, I am gratified to be able to report and to announce to the world a significant agreement, an agreement that we've actively sought and worked for since January 1964. Agreement has been reached between the governments of the Union of Socialist Republics and the United States to enter in the nearest future into discussions on the limitation and the reduction of both offensive strategic nuclear weapons delivery systems and systems of defense against ballistic missiles. Discussion of this most complex subject will not be easy, and we have no illusions that it will be. I know the fears and the suspicions and the anxieties that we shall have to overcome. But we do believe that the same spirit of accommodation that's reflected in the negotiation of the present treaty can bring us to a good and fruitful result. Man can still shape his destiny in the nuclear age and learn to live as brothers.
Now its ultimate success hinged upon the final individual ratification of the many nations that had voted for it in the UN, including ratification by the United States Senate. The hard work of diplomacy is most often quiet and unnoticed. Its very nature may require a stubborn dedication to day-to-day accomplishments that make very little news. But without this dedication, achievements like the Test Ban Treaty and the Non-Proliferation Act would have never gone beyond the talking stages. Without this same persistence, there would be little hope for the talks in Paris or an eventual rapprochement with the Soviet Union. President Johnson's announcement regarding the discussion on nuclear weapons systems with the Russians would make early and dramatic headlines. But in the final analysis, time, determination, and a stubborn commitment to specifics would be the real keys to man's future beyond the 60s. A similar test had come in Vietnam, and one of the men who had served quietly and efficiently in mid-July, President Johnson honored his new Army Chief of Staff, General William C. Westmoreland, with the Distinguished Service Medal, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster.
His President's regard for him is already written large on the record of these past 5 years. Freedom was in jeopardy, and a struggling people had been brought almost to their knees by aggression when William Westmoreland was called to urgent duty. His mission was to deny aggression its conquest. It was a mission simple enough to state. But to execute that mission, he had to fight the most complex war in all American history. And now today we are stirred by the hope of peace, a stable peace in which the people of Southeast Asia can live out their lives and develop their institutions as they will. But let us never forget that when peace comes with freedom intact, it will come only because brave men stood firm on the battlefield in an hour of trial and anguishing doubt.
On July 18th, a grim possibility. In keeping with his policy to brief the major presidential candidates, President Johnson met with the Republican standard-bearer, Richard Nixon, and third-party candidate George Wallace. Bill for the District of Columbia. He also launched a new program called Veterans in Public Service, designed to convert citizen soldiers into teachers, policemen, firefighters, health workers, and conservationists, putting those who are able and willing to work at work on some of the nation's toughest problems.
Although we have the greatest nation in all the world, if it is to continue to lead the world, then we must rise up in this critical hour of need, inventory our resources, list our needs, and try to reach progressive judgments that will result in the greatest good for the greatest number.